were longer answers, but I thought that they were detailed because they were full of specific evidence and examples, which I very much appreciate. I mean, take that from a teacher herself. I am looking for evidence for your claims, and I feel like he did an excellent job with that. I particularly liked his detailed answer to pushing through initiatives question. That one really stood out to me. I've got to say, he's an excellent communicator. It's my job, right? Is post-secondary assessment of presentation skills. The attention to details again, his delivery skills, and his multimodal delivery of information was excellent communication. So it's not just about how we talk to people, but the various ways in which we can convey that information that I thought really stood out to me about him. Let's see. I already mentioned that. I was impressed with his thorough research and preparation prior to the original set of interviews and prior to this evening as well. He even mentioned things that I did not even know yet about our own district. And I mean, maybe that says more about me than it does about him, but I like to think that there were others that in information that we got from the audience, there's somebody who works within the district said they too didn't know this information. So I've got to say that's impressive. I think that that's an indication of what we can expect from him. If he's going to do that for this interview, I believe he's going to do that in his job and take pride in that work. He had human touch and humor in his communications. Yes, it is a business at the top of the district, but it is a people business at heart, and I'm convinced that that is really what it matters to him. Clearly, he mentioned student voice multiple times in both interviews. That is important to particular stakeholders who keep mentioning that. It's the students. And then, of course, his legislative engagement. Let's go the other direction to the excitement and reasons for wanting to work at the state and local levels regarding education. He was motivated to identify novel ways to generate revenue, along with clearly a real interest in traditional grants and finding all of that grant money to help support the district. And clearly he prioritizes student achievement and engagement according to the presentation that he gave us and what it was that he would first start with, as opposed to other things. An excellent candidate. Of course, they are both excellent candidates. As now, I'll share what I have written down about Dr. Kirby. Kinzer. Oh my gosh, yes, thank you, Dr. Dr. Kinzer. Dr. Kinzer's next. He's a systems and organization man. That is so needed in the management of a district, especially a district of our size and needs. And so, I mean, that came through very clearly through his responses. He thrives, and I believe this because I did have the opportunity to spend a great deal of time talking with him during the district tour as well. And so I believe it's not just blowing smoke when he says he thrives in rigorous and engaged communities. And when we talked about it, it was clear that he had examples with us, between us one-on-one, on how that really excites him and what he can do with that. So I believe that. He talked about investment. He knows administration well, and he spends a lot of time with them. He referred to his 18 years as an administrator and saying, they're my people, and that's who I want to spend time with. So I feel like when it comes to administration, they can expect to be supported by him, and he'd be very interested in spending his time working with them. He's ready to make difficult decisions. This was made clear, and I think that's really important given what we know is in our future here. And those are not difficult decisions on a whim. He kept repeating his deep data dives, not in that alliterative way, but he kept repeating that, and it's clear that that really matters to him. He does like the data. Again, that's a systems particularity there, but that's good because it's not like I'm going to take on these deep, difficult decisions just to combat something and move forward. Clearly, he would do the work. He values mentorship. In fact, both candidates clearly value mentorship, and I think that's important when it comes to a leader. I appreciated the acknowledgement of the overall culture to support his work, where he acknowledged that it is not him doing the work in a vacuum, that it is a culture that is created by everyone around him to help make that happen. He was proud of his ability to make difficult decisions and accept the consequences. For him, safety of our students and our staff is a priority as per his 90-day plan, and also his second to last question answer. where he explained that safety is to him very important. He was always considering every aspect and angle. He had clear, more concise answers to his interview questions. And he said, first, I want to learn, and I want to know more. He also said, I listen more than I talk, and I'm a learner. I love learning. Clearly, this is repeated for emphasis here, and I believe that he does, because that's an interest of his. I appreciated how he shared his own growth on equity, and his journey, as you also mentioned, demonstrates honesty and vulnerability, and also realism. He had strong responses on the spot, yes, maybe more so than while presenting the information. But on the spot, of course, is very important strength. And let's see. Oh, and I liked how he appreciated the open house as an opportunity to hear community stories, because that makes sense. As he said, I listen more than I talk. I did forget one thing that I circled for Mr. Kirby. And this was, I thought, really important, and I circled it, and I think that's why I forgot to mention it. I believe that he is, as he would like to see in the world, a champion of hope. And I believe him when he's speaking that. And I'm surprised I forgot to write that down, because that was important to me. It was important to him, and I believe he would be a champion.
Okay, that was incredibly a well-organized list, Kristen. And I feel really impressed. And I feel a little muddier in my mind. I mean, not just because you just have such a great list. So good job, good job. You must teach communication or something. Okay, so I would say I'll start with Dr. Kinzer. I thought number one, I really liked how he said that 90 days is just the beginning, and he realizes that this is an ongoing multi-year process to learn this district, and that shows a real posture of learning and open-mindedness on his part. I thought he was very humble in talking about some of the things that he wants to get better at and that he knows he still needs to work on. I think it's always great when someone can identify areas that they can learn from others. I think his emphasis on relationships definitely comes through. I just think when you are across from him, he is a very relational person. He's very easy to talk to, very personable. I think that's a very important skill when you are managing this many people with this many different personalities and things that are important to them. I liked that he talked about continually working on instruction, making sure that he is close to that, keeping current with safety. That is obviously an important, that's a big priority for me. The kid's still in the district, and so I think that was a good answer. He also recognized the long-standing history of job longevity in this district and how that leads to student success. And I think that is something that's important to recognize, is that we are looking for someone who is ready to invest in this community long-term. We have seen the last two superintendents what that does for student success, and we can compare that to districts who have frequent turnover in that position. So I think those were good things that he called out and made mention of. All right, so then for Kirby, I would say that one of the things that we always talk about as an educator, and we talk about with our teachers, and we talk about with people who are training to be educators, is that we get excellent results in education when we model for those people what excellence looks like. And I believe with Ben Kirby's presentation tonight, and when I look at his body of work in the districts that he has worked in, we see that his modeling of excellence is then what is fruit that is born in those districts. And I think that we would see that in our own district as well. And we are a district that expects excellence, and I think as a result, sometimes that learning curve then might not be as severe. I thought he did an incredible amount of research into our district. And he wove that knowledge and information into each of his answers, as well as experiences from his former and current district. He shows an incredible investment in the district already by way of those answers and by way of that research. I thought the thought that he put into his presentation tonight, the research that he put into it, the expectations of excellence represented what we expected for us, so that I said that. I thought his answers reflected a high level of experience and depth of knowledge, bringing a lot to the table already for Forest Hills. I know that community staff members, students all recognize that very intentional way that he sought them out on his tour, and then also in his answers, they demonstrated that as well. I think his answers reflect an understanding of the scope of the job in Forest Hills. And I liked a lot from his first interview. He talked about intentionally having high schoolers work with middle school and elementary kids to appreciate where they came from. And I just think, again, that underscores how he builds relationships and how he sees the importance of those and putting students in the forefront. So I can say more, but someone else should